Okay, so let's begin. Hi, everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of Naukri Learning to today's live session, How to Make Better Career Choices and Interactive Hands-on Webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, there are two questions that most people ask about their careers. One is, how do you select a career in a very conscious, deliberate, and an intentional manner? And how do you make sure your career choices align with your passion, your strengths, and your beliefs? So, in the first webinar of this two-part webinar series, was held last Saturday, that is 17th July. And in that webinar, leading career coaches Anita and Harsh discussed the following points: the changing nature of careers, the importance of having a career mindset, what comes in your way of making informed career decisions, how to create a compelling career vision, the power of and or when it comes to career. So the recorded session of the first part of this webinar series is available on our YouTube channel. In case you missed it, you can find the link right in the description below. In today's webinar, our speakers will share their proven step-by-step system to help you make better career choices. So Anita Sachdeva and Harsh Johari, our speakers for today, are certified leadership and career coaches with global experience, having transitioned careers and roles across industries and geographies. They want to now share their learnings with you so that professionals like you can ease through career transition. So before we start, let me just remind you all to post your questions in the chat box so that we can address them in the Q&A that is going to happen at the end. And we will also try to address the questions that you shared with us at the time of registration. So don't forget to check out the link of the course also that is there in the description below. So without much delay, let's get started. Over to you, Anita and Harsh.
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome back. Well, as Niharika explained, we covered a whole bunch of topics last week, and today it's about making choices in a structured manner. Now, why choices? We make so many choices a day, over 200. So, how do you make a choice with your career where the choices get multiplied? Now, so let's have a conversation today on how you could make structured choices and make better choices. And how would you select a career which is conscious, deliberate, and intentional? Not random, intentional. So, how do you make sure that the career is aligned with your passion, your strengths, and your beliefs? And please remember that we are not looking for jobs, we are looking at creating a career. The process to make better career choices begins with nothing but self awareness. If you don't know much about yourself, then the choices you make are not aligned with truly who you are and what you want. You may get excited about something, and then a year later, you may turn around and say, oops, that's not what I really wanted because it was not examined. So, how do you do that? When it comes to career, self awareness can be spoken in the context of one, your values, two, your strengths, three, your passion and interest, and four, your skills. Seems a lot, but it isn't. It's easy once you can move through them step by step, which we will do in today's session. So let's understand, why is it important for you to know your strengths and your values? We all have talents. Our strengths help us succeed and progress in life. They make us do things effortlessly and give us our uniqueness. Some of you potentially may not even be aware of your strengths or what makes you tick, what makes you do things the way you do it so well. Some of you may be even aware, but sometimes overestimate your strength in certain areas and underestimate in the other. The better you know yourself, the more you can maximize your potential and create an impact. So, to conclude, if you know your strengths, you'll be able to align your career with your strengths. And help you become more confident, productive, and improve your performance because you will be doing it consciously, your work consciously and intentionally. And overall, you'll be able to achieve your goals, targets, and connect with each others with ease. All of these are just by knowing your strengths. So play to them, and it will enable you to do what you're really doing and make you happy and reduce your stress levels and build a resilience attitude. So now we're going to ask you a question. And like we said, this is an interactive webinar. We're going to get you to work with us. So the first step is to find your main strengths. Can you type in the chat box, what is your number one strength, the top strength that comes to your mind, which everyone says to you, wow, you need to get something done, go to you. What is it? Could you type that in the chat box, please? So over to you, Harsh. So maybe when you get the next question, maybe we can ask them the same question again about the strengths.
Sure, thanks. I was just watching the chat box if anybody responded. But yeah, thanks, Anita. And you raised a good point around self-awareness. I think knowing more about ourselves, who we truly are, can help us actually take better decisions, make conscious choices, not just about the career, but about life in general. Because when you allow career and life happen to you, you're not actually taking a pause and saying, okay, who am I and where do I want to be? And that's the whole part of the process, really, right? Really taking time out to understand who you are, and self-awareness is one of the aspects. We spoke about strengths just now when we heard Anita's view, but one of the other aspects of self-awareness is around knowing your values, your core values, who you truly are, what defines you, what do you value most in life, because your core values influence your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your actions, and your actions ultimately influence the results which you get in life, right? So what you value most and what you believe in most also influences the outcomes and results you get in life, and that is true for your career as well. So values are very, very important part of understanding yourself, and also using the values to make the decisions which align with your career. For example, what sort of job fits your personality, what sort of workplace you will thrive best in, what sort of workplace you will not thrive best in, what sort of job is, or culture is where you can perform optimally, right? And I can share you a few examples. For example, let's say you value independence a lot, you like to work independently. Now if you suppose go in a workplace where you have to always work in teams, sometimes your performance may not be optimal because you like independence, you like to be on your own. That is just one example, right? uh, for example, let's say you value commitment a lot, right? So and you are very committed, but if you go in a workplace where people or the culture does not hold commitment to its core, then you will find there is a conflict of values, right? So knowing your values is very, very important in helping you decide what career choices you should make so that it aligns with what you truly believe in. So now the question for all of you is that, do you really know what are your core values? Now, some of you may know, some of you may believe that you know. So I'm going to invite all of you to share that what you think is your topmost value. If you know your value, can you type in the chat box, what do you value most in life? Sumit says confidence. So Sumit, I don't know whether this is, you mentioned in terms of strength or values, but confidence it could be a good strength to have at workplace. You're very confident. Sumit also says, I also like to trying new things. That is great, Sumit. So taking risk, innovation could also be one of your core areas of strength. I invite all those who are watching us today, can you type in the chat box, what do you think is your topmost value? And look, if you don't know your strengths, you don't know your values, don't worry about that. It's not something which comes to us easily. It's not very intuitive. It requires a lot of self-reflection. It requires, sometimes it needs you to go and discuss this with your peers, your colleagues, your managers, to really understand what you're good at. Sometimes it requires you to go and talk to a lot more people to understand, because what people can see about you, sometimes you don't see about yourself, right? So if you don't know your core strengths and core values, don't worry about that, because we actually have a full course around that, the Conscious Career Choices program, which is brought in partnership with Naukri Learning. It's an online course. It's free. There's no cost attached to it. We'll share the link. I would invite all of you to go and register for that course. It has several modules, and in one of the modules, you'll actually have a lot of exercises which can help you discover your strengths and your values. So if you don't know your value, that's perfectly fine. I strongly invite all of you to go and do the course, so you will know what you value most in life, what are your strengths, and how you can use them to make career choices.
So now going forward, we talked about strengths and values. Now we come to talk about, let's examine your passions and interests. Quite often, we pay so much attention to our career. We forget there are so many things in our life that make us happy. And sometimes what things make us happy becomes our career. And it takes sometimes people 30 years to say, oh my God, it was a wrong profession. Do you want that? So how do you align your passion and interest to your career? What are you most passionate about? What do you enjoy doing? Photography? We know one of our clients who was a banker who became a photographer because that was his passion, and then he converted it into a profession. And he said, I don't know why I took so long to do this. Do you want to wait? That's the question. What are the things that make you feel energetic and joyful? These are questions that you can ask, which would help you understand that doesn't matter what kind of a job you're doing, but if your passion is aligned to it. So, for example, if somebody loves designing, then they would be comfortable in a job that has design. Design doesn't mean graphic design. It can be designing content, it can be designing structures, it can be designing frameworks. For an architect, it could be designing a building. Now, if that's any of the passion that you have in designing, then that's what you do, and choose the industry that suits, that most works best with you. So take a paper and pen again and write down what are your key interests today. It doesn't matter what they are. Just put it down, open your heart, and just write it down. And just to share another example that came to me, I have this person who loves sports and adventure. And guess what he does? Every weekend, he takes groups of people either for kayaking, trekking, or to the mountains, and takes people into some crazy places that nobody would ever go before. And he has a following, but he does that only on weekends. And he has other passionate people who work with him as volunteers, but he has a full-time job. So that's another way of understanding how you can not just monetize, but live your life through your passion. Any thoughts?
It's an interesting point, and I want to add to this that sometimes, it is possible that you will end up making your passion a profession, and that's really a great place to be in. Like what we are doing today, we love coaching people, we like training people. So whatever we are passionate about is actually a profession between me and Anita. But it is quite possible that whatever you're passionate about or whatever your interests are may not necessarily translate to a full-time profession, and that's perfectly fine. For example, let's say you like singing. It does not mean that you have to find a job which allows you to sing unless you want to become a professional singer. But singing is a form of expression. Singing is a form of art. So a place where you can go and express yourself, a place which values art or expression, is a culture you should look for, right? It does not mean that you have to become a singer, right? And there are a lot of organizations, we have these hobby clubs and other activities, volunteer activities, community activities you can participate in, where your passion could get a form of expression, right? Somebody could like teaching, and a full-time job in a corporate sector may not allow you teaching, but you can always do teaching on the side in late evenings, on weekends, as a voluntary effort, as a community effort. So don't always confuse that whatever I'm passionate about has to become a full-time profession. That may not happen with many of you, and that's perfectly fine. As long as you are to create a sense of balance in your life where you give space for your passion. That's very important for us to see. And I see some responses. Sumit earlier mentioned to the question on values. He said my value is family, and that is great. Waiting to value. Now you have to go back and think that when I'm making my career choices, am I keeping my family in mind? Or I'm making a choice about my career and then complaining and I'm not able to give time to my family. That's the whole point. So whatever you value most in life, and whenever you're making choices about your career, are your decisions in alignment with those values? That's the point we're trying to stress. Sumit also said, he said, I like to cook. So I started a small delivery business. But how do I decide if this could be a step to my career? So Sumit will handle this question. It's a question, so we'll probably take it up towards the end. But we'll take a note of that. So it's good. Sumit likes cooking and he has started something on the side, which is great. And it does not mean that he has to leave his job. He can do actually something in parallel and develop as a full-fledged business before he actually wants to step into that. So we'll pick this question later, Sumit. But I want to move to the next step, right? So we spoke about your strengths, knowing your values, which is a good part of self-awareness. We spoke about knowing your interests and passions. And the last thing in this process is knowing your core skills and competencies. What are you really good at your workplace? What are some of the things you can do effortlessly and easily? What are some of the things which people admire in you, right? So that is what you need to go back and reflect, saying, what are my core skill sets? People management, project management, risk management, communication, training. These are skill sets. So what are your core skill sets which you're really good at? And I invite all of you to think at certain broad and horizontal skills which you have developed over a period of time, which you think can be relevant in other jobs as well. So all those who have joined us, if you know what are your core skill sets, can you type in the chat box, what do you think is your topmost skill at work? So many others who have joined us today, can you type in the chat your top skill? So this is the next step, right? You go back and reflect, saying, what am I really good at? What are my maybe top 5 core skills and competencies based on your experience, based on the feedback you've got from your peers and your managers? And when you have made this list, again, I want all of you to go back and reflect, saying, these are the core skills. Now, what all jobs are there which will leverage these skills? This is where we want you to expand your thought process, expand your mind. Do not think in a limited manner that only these jobs require, because this may be your past experience, but there may be a lot of jobs which may require these skill sets, right? So we want you to list out the core skill sets, and then once you made a list, we want you to think of what possible jobs could leverage those skills. It does not matter whether you're doing that job today or not. It does not matter how you'll get it there. At this point, all we are inviting you is to think about the possibilities which can open up for you. So I see some responses. Riddhi says writing and communication is one of my core skill sets, which is great. Now, Riddhi, I invite you to think what sort of jobs or professions will leverage writing and communication. Now, writing does not mean you have to become a full-time writer or blogger. There could be other jobs in public relationships, in media, in communication, where writing could be leveraged a skill set. So I invite you to think that where all you can use this skill set, which jobs need this. Munnu Swami says teaching. So again, Munnu Swami, teaching is great. I invite you to go back and think, what do you want to teach, or what are you currently teaching, and what sort of jobs could leverage teaching a skill set, right? Teaching could also mean training. So are there certain jobs where you can teach at work? So just think on those lines. So don't think whether it will happen, how it will happen. Just think, create a list of potential jobs. So that's the next step. And when you've created that list of jobs, so now you have a list, your skills, you have your jobs, and earlier you also identified your values, your strengths, and your interests. Now, if you bring all these things together, look at the job which you've listed and see which jobs aligns with my values or strengths, which jobs allows me a form of expression for my passion. And you can then narrow down that list actually to maybe 3-5 options. Again, don't worry how it will happen. This is just to create options. And once you've narrowed down the list, then you can start doing some research, right? You can start looking out for which companies are having those jobs. You can start reading the job descriptions when you find an opening and seeing Do I see similar skills in those job descriptions or not? You can start going and talking to your network. You can actually go and research on those jobs and talk to people in those industries. So you can do a lot of research, and that research and talking to people can actually help you narrow that list further and say, yeah, these are 2-3 things or 2-3 roles which really excite me, which are aligned to my strengths, to my values, which and potentially to my passion, interest, and most importantly, they are leveraging my skill sets. What am I good at? And then you can start approaching those jobs as to what openings are available, how can I apply, and those sort of things. So once you make those choices, once you have options, you make choices and start working in that directions. So that is a whole process of making conscious career choices. You create some level of self-awareness, knowing your values, knowing your strengths. You reflect in what are you passionate about, what are your interests are. You sort of research and investigate what your core skills are by either self-reflection or talking to people, and then you use this information to look at jobs which can leverage these things, which aligns with them, and then you take a decision, right? And look, you don't have to do it immediately. It's something for you to consider, that if and when you're making career move, or if it is something on your mind, can you use these inputs to make a more informed decision, which we call a career choice, which is made intentionally, consciously, and deliberately. And if you find it's a bit overwhelming, that's perfectly fine. Look, as I said earlier, there is a full-fledged course out there. It's a digital course, free of cost. It has 6 modules, ready-made exercises, templates. Everything is done for you. All you have to go and watch the videos, download the exercise, and do the exercise. And by the end of that course, you will be able to arrive at different and diverse career choices. That is a promise. So I strongly encourage, do this course. I strongly encourage you to invite people from your network whom you feel are at the brink of career change, and invite them to attend the course so that other people can also benefit from that. So that's really from our side today. Anita, anything you want to add before we take the questions?
Yes. When I observe that Riddhi and Natarajan are talking about writing and communication, and then Natarajan talks about e-discovery and content management, I think it's great that at least you're thinking about choices. So congrats. Now the question would be, as Harsh said, narrow it down. Now communication is a wide field. It can go right from advertising to training to marketing, content marketing, writing for websites, writing content for blogs. I mean, what is it? Is your area of passion and interest and your area of strength? Do you prefer that you're so creative that you can do short writing with good headlines? Then Instagram, it may be the right one for you. You can go to different freelance websites to see what are the kind of offerings that are available to you, and check it out, that is this what I can offer to my potential customers. It's all about experimenting. One, if it aligns with you, and two, what does the market need? That your expertise, when meets the market, that's where you will be successful. That's called brand positioning. But when you go through our course, step by step, as we walked you today, we'll walk you through your strengths, walk you through finding your values, your interest and passion, as well as making how do you make the choices. There's a process. And yes, you will find from there on, if you want to say, okay, I got it now, but I need more, we have a master class. And that master class is for 8 weeks. You can go to our website. You can put the link there, Niharika, if you can. And in our master class, it's an 8-week class that we really take you through. And more often than not, our clients have been able to find this career that they want. It's truly the effort that you want to put in your career.
No, those are great points. And I'll take the example of Riddhi and extend it further. Sometimes it may happen that you don't want to do something independently. You can still work in a firm. For example, you can go and talk to your marketing team or a PR team and saying, look, I really like communication and like to come and work with you. You can do a mini project. You can do some internship. You can do a cross-functional project which leverages your communication as a skill set, right? You can train people within a teams in them writing better emails or communicating effectively, whatever is your area of strength. So sometimes it need not always be that I have to go and do something of my own. I can leverage that interest of passion to do my job with more impact or create more impact at my current workplace, right? So like Natarajan said, teaching, right? You can actually, you don't have to go and teach outside. You can sometimes take up a teaching assignment within your organizations, training, depending on what area you want to get, you are good at, right? So sometimes, so it's not always that I have to actually go and leave my job and do something. You can actually have a full-time job and think, how do I bring that passion to work? And there are always opportunities if you really go and raise your hand saying, look, like for example, when I got interested in training, I actually started doing training a lot in my previous organizations, purely from a voluntary basis. I said, look, I want to go, I'm good in training. I want to train people, and started doing voluntary floor huddles, and then slowly expanded myself to become a proper trainer. So there's something how you want to take this forward, right? So that's all from our side. We are going to look at some questions people might be having. In the meantime, if you have any further questions on today's session or the last session we did, you can type your question in the chat box. We'll pick up the question.
I think we need to answer Sumit's question
Yes,
on.
yes. Yeah, I'm looking
he
at.
Said, I like to cook.
Yeah, Sumit, you said I like to cook, so I started a small delivery business. But how do I decide if this could? He said, if this could be step to my career, new career. Sumit, it's a question of do you want to do this full time or do you want to do it as a side hustle? So look, you have all the options. You can have your full time job, which creates stability in far as your income or financial stability, and you can do the side hustle. You can actually continue working and grow it to a scale where you can leave your job and get into this full time if you are really passionate about. So it totally depends on how you want to take it. There's no, what works for you may not work for others, right? A lot of people I know do side business and they do also full-time job, and that's the arrangement they prefer. And sometimes some people want to get into full-time. So it depends on how you want to do. But before you jump into full-time, I strongly want you to explore the market, because in terms of whatever you're doing delivery business, and reach a scale where you think it can sustain you, right? That's one thing. The other thing you can also think about is that if I'm passionate about cooking, are there jobs which can leverage my cooking skills, right? And it doesn't mean you have to go and cook, right? Like companies like Swiggy or Zomato, you have a background from food industry, right? So there could be jobs which leverage that background or those skill set, right? So don't always think that I like cooking, I have to go and cook. Maybe there are roles which actually can leverage. There are jobs where chefs are employed as food critics, as in different variety, forms and shapes. You can leverage your skill really, right? And if you really want to get into full time, I think that's also a perfectly viable option. I like people who go all in. That's my view. And if you want, you can take that approach, but make sure that, of course, there are other factors when you have to take into account: finance, family, health, other things as well. So it's not a singular decision, but it's so there are options which you can pursue. Anything you want to add?
Again, yeah, I think once again you have to know what your values are and what your strengths are. Can you manage both? Is your family supporting you? If family is your value, is your family supporting you in your journey? That becomes very, very critical when we are trying to pursue our interest, and then how do we get them along with us? On the other hand, is it going to be a strain on the family if you're cooking at home, for example, and taking over the kitchen? Does it create a stress in the family? So you've got to look at all of these things and then see, okay, if I can't do in your family kitchen, then how is it scalable? Where else can you go? Can you get a partner in where you could operate with ease? So I think there are definite choices, but your strengths as well as your values will dictate the actions that you would take for your business.
And that's a great point. Thanks, Nita. We have one more question from Riddhi. Riddhi says that, how can I overcome the fear of starting over if I'm looking for a career change? It's a great question. How do I know I'm doing the right thing? So I'll answer the second question first. Intuitively, you know what is the right thing for you. Now, whether you want to take an action, that's a different thing. But I always believe that we know the answer to the question we are always seeking for. But so now, whether you are finding the courage to take that decision and move forward, that's a question. Not that what is right, what is. You know what is right for you. I can tell you that, right? A lot of people are stuck in professions or jobs where they are unhappy. So they know the right thing for them is to actually change a job, but they're not able to find the courage to take that decision. So it's, I would say, you know what is right for you. Let me put it that way. And the second thing you mentioned is, how do I overcome the fear of starting over? Look, this fear typically comes from various shapes. Comes from a past experiences. Fear could be from a potential fear of failure, that what happens if I not succeed. Fear could come from the unknown, right? If you're stepping into a new industry, new job completely, you don't know what is out there. Fear, so you have unknown and uncertainty fear, and that fear will still be there. Now question is, what is the trigger of the fear? Is it a skill gap? Are you stepping into something which you don't know completely, and there is a skill competence gap? Then you have an action plan to cover those skill gaps, especially if you're going into a different industry or role, right? If you or if it's a different company culture, to go and work with a mentor who can help you integrate into that. If it's a question of self-confidence or self-doubts, then in fact, if you go into a program, there is actually a full section on dealing with your self-doubts and fears. So I strongly recommend that when you do this online course, pay a lot of attention to that specific module, which can help you deal with your self-doubts, deal with your fears, and reframe them in a very positive manner. So, really, I strongly advocate you to go and do the course. And that specific module, of course, it's not, you can't jump modules, you have to do in sequence, but there is a very specific module with specific exercises which can help you overcome that fear.
One of the other things that we can do while you do the course to get a kind of a structure and feel good, freelancing is the way to go. Try your hand at freelancing. There are so many sites that you can register yourself as a writer. Start small, don't charge too much, get the experience, get the portfolio, and then see what kind of reviews you are getting. But getting started is the first thing. But when you go through a course, I can guarantee you will get the, what should I say, make the first step towards at least doing some work, even if it is pro bono, but do something about it.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say, Yadi, don't let fear hold you back. That's important thing. One of the things which fear does is it freezes you. It does not allow you to take action or decisions. And not taking action or not taking decisions will not help you for sure. You are where you are, you will remain where you are. So courage is really taking action despite that fear. So even if you're fearful, take action. That's the, I would say, successful people do two things very, very well. They take powerful actions and they take powerful decisions. Not everything may work in your favor. See, whenever you're trying something new, our default demand is give me guarantee, give me certainty, give me 100% guarantee, only then I'll try. That is never going to happen whenever you're trying anything new. So just be aware of the fact that nobody can guarantee you success. You can all do is give your 100%. You can't control the outcomes. Cool. I don't have any other question, but I hope this two-part webinar series has been helpful for you all. In the first part, we discussed a lot about just the concept of career mindset and what comes up for us when we make career choices. And today we discuss a structured approach and how you can make choices. I invite you strongly to go and sign up for the course. As I said, it's a free course. All you need to do is invest your time, and you will definitely gain something out of it. If you want to connect with me or Nita, you can connect us with us on LinkedIn. If you want to set up a quick 15-20 minutes call just to understand what we do from a career coaching point of view, I think that is also open. Just connect with us on LinkedIn and drop us an email, and we can send you our booking links. And that's a lead from us. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks for taking time out. I know it's Saturday, it's time for family and friends, but as I always say, you are here for a reason. We are here for a reason. So I hope you got what you wanted. And thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Yeah, and I like to say that just one thing that's my favorite, that your career is not linear. It is so melodious. It is so complex and versatile and energetic. Don't look at career as a linear. Enjoy your career. Thank you.